Good evening, and welcome to Follow the Schedule Night at Shore Middle School. My name is Craig Vaughn, and I teach 7th and 8th grade science here at Shore. I apologize for not being able to be with you this evening, but I coach football for our 7th and 8th grade football team, and we have an away game at Garfield Heights, so I look forward to meeting each of you next month during fall conferences. A little bit about myself. This is my 12th year teaching in the Mentor schools. All 12 years have been here at Shore Middle School. I have a wife named Julie, and I have two little girls, a 4-year-old named Avery and an 11-month-old named Peyton. I coach football and track here at Shore, and I was also involved with Science Olympiad for a period of time too earlier in my career. I'm a kindergarten through 12th grade Mentor school student. I went to Hopkins Memorial Mentor High School. I grew up here. I live here. It's a great place to go to school and raise a family. So I make sure that I let your kids know quite frequently just how fortunate they are to grow up and have a Mentor schools education. It's something that I'm very, very proud of. The materials that your students are going to be, or my students are going to be required to bring to class every day are their iPad, headphones, their science folder, a spiral notebook, and a pencil. This is the 4th year that our 8th graders have been one-to-one with iPads in the classroom. My expectation of my students is that they have the iPads closed when the bell rings and that they come to school with them 100% charged. The most common apps that we're going to use are Schoology, Edpuzzle, Quizlet, Quizzes, Socrative, and Seesaw. Your children are to only download school-appropriate apps from self-service, nothing from the App Store, or nothing that has been, only things that have been approved by the board office. You see that we have flexible furniture, movable tables and chairs. You can see that the arrangement of the classroom today is set up for a lesson where the students are working collaboratively in groups. Sometimes that will be the case, and sometimes it will not, depending on what the lesson calls for, but it's nice to have the flexible furniture just to complement whatever the lesson calls for, and it's easy to move, and we can change the arrangement even during a class period. Schoology acts like our class website. It's a learning management system, so it does a lot more. I post my daily agendas, notes, videos, discussions, tests, and other resources on Schoology. There's an interactive piece to it as well where students can submit assignments and interact with their classmates as well. You should have the parent codes that were issued to you the first week of school during advisory so you can access your son or daughter's Schoology account to keep up to speed with what's going on in their classes. Grading scale is 10% made up from Achieve 3000, 40% formative assessments, which are just kind of our daily nuts and bolts of what we do in class each day. That's homework, labs, activities, simulations, just kind of the practice, I call it. 50% of your son or daughter's grade is made up from summative assessments. Those are tests, quizzes, and projects. So if the formative assessments are the practice, the summative assessments would be the big game that we would be practicing for. A little bit more about tests and quizzes. Every 2 weeks, my students will take a short quiz. There will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 points. Those smaller quizzes can be retaken, and I will take the better of the 2 grades, the retake or the original score. They're going to be required to retake their quizzes if they score anything less than an 80%. After 3 or maybe 4 quizzes, we're going to take an end of the unit test that will be made up from the concepts and curriculum that was covered in the smaller quizzes. The tests cannot be made up, or retaken, I should say. 7th grade curriculum, we utilize Veterans Park during the first quarter when we're studying ecology and biomes. The middle part of the school year, we look at the moon, tides, and cycles related to the moon, and then water cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycles of nature. And then we end the school year with some physical science when we look at conservation of energy and conservation of mass. The eighth grade curriculum starts out with the early part of the year, physical science concepts regarding force and motion. The middle part of the year is made up of physical earth or physical geology, earth science concepts, looking at the physical features of our planet and how they've changed over time. And then we end the school year with diversity of life and genetics and heredity. Additional information, you see my email address on there. It's just my last name at mentorschools.org. Email is really the method that I prefer to use to contact you, or if you needed to get a hold of me, I'm usually pretty good about getting back to you within a day or so. Make sure that you have signed in before you leave as a 7th grade parent or an 8th grade parent, and then that you've signed up for the Remind app so you can get class reminders and updates just about things that we have coming up in the future. So again, I apologize for not being able to be with you this evening, but I look forward to a great school year. We've had a good month of school already, and we're really excited, and I know that we're going to have a great year. So thanks again for coming, and good night.